in 2 months, it went from 0 to
0 to 210K.
a month. So it's on like a $2.5 million run rate 2 months in.
Yes, that's right. What I have seen in the last 30 to 45 days is that true product market fit is like purely based off referrals. If people love your product to the degree they say they do, they'll refer other customers to that product. Right now, 30% of our new top line revenue per month is coming from referrals.
I mean, I must say, I'm like, dude, where do I sign? You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm your new customer.
That's product market fit.
Product market fit.
Product market fit.
I called it the product market fit question.
Product market fit.
Product market fit.
Product market fit. Product market fit.
I mean, the name of the show is Product Market Fit.
Do you think the Product Market Fit show has product market fit? Because if you do, then there's something you just have to do. You have to take out your phone. You have to leave the show 5 stars. It lets us reach more founders and it lets us get better guests. Thank you.
Yo, Matt, welcome to the show, man. Excited to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Dude, so you have a pretty crazy story. You started your first company in 19, sold it about like 21, made a cool $1 million, like when everybody else was like not able to afford, like coffee in the morning. That's certainly where I was at 21. And then now you started another company and you've grown from 0 to 8 million a year in 6 months, which is insane by any standards. So excited to kind of dive into all that. Maybe let's start with this real quick, because I'm sure one thing feeds into the other. Like, what was the first company that you did and who did you sell it to?
Yeah, I mean, for context, I'm running a company called Clover, as you mentioned. We've scaled incredibly quickly. The team has gone from me and my co-founder, Ryan, to now 30 people full time. The goal was to build a company that, if done well, I would never have to build another company using any other growth mechanism except my own. So Clover's entire goal is, how do you solve distribution? How do you generate millions of views on autopilot, all directing traffic to your product? How do you get like crazy website visitors? And I realized that if you can solve that issue, if you can have millions of people knowing about what you do, it doesn't matter what product it's incubating. It could be e-commerce, it could be SaaS, even like a PDF guide. You know what I mean? And so that was kind of the entire thesis around Clover. When I first started this in the whole software side of things, I built a company when I was 19. That was a crypto exchange platform. We allowed people to kind of incubate their own social tokens and then be able to trade between each other for profit. And we sold that company about a year after incubating to a company called Talent. And then that company has since created its own ecosystem and took our existing 250,000 users we had from that first company to their own like multi-million-dollar a year company as well, which has been really cool to see.
When did that exit happen? How long ago was that?
I'm 23 right now. And so that happened about 4 years ago.
Okay, you started 4 years ago, but you sold it like 2 years in. So 2 years ago, you exited it?
No, I sold it a year in.
Oh, you sold it. So you were 20 when you sold it.
That's right. Exactly.
So walk me through that. Like, hey, you sell this company. What's next? Like right away, you want to build what you're building now, or like what happens in between then and Clover?
Yeah, it's actually very interesting because I sold my first company in 19. I personally took home about 120, 130 US from that exit. Had a couple other co-founders as well that were involved in that. For a long time, people were kind of saying like, you got lucky. Like, sure, you sold 19, 20-ish. You cannot do it again.
Well, especially crypto, right? Like as soon as you hear crypto made a bunch of money, you're like, yeah, I bought some Bitcoin too. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, 100%. And also we sold literally 2 months before the crypto stock crashed.
What year was this then? Like right before 22 you sold? Like you started 21 sort of thing?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And so like a couple months difference between us selling for the amount we sold and us selling for pennies on the dollar.
Dude, we had somebody on this show, guy I know well now, who he was the founder of Wire, and he went from $1 billion acquisition announced, like you'd still find it, in June 22 to like a fire sale by the end of that same year when everything, like crazy, man. So I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, no, so it was literally, I will admit that part of timing was incredibly lucky. I think for a long time, that was the paradigm of like, cool, this guy just did well, has some money in the account. It wasn't even life-changing, I would even say. It was just a proof point. And I think I've become so much more bullish on companies and founders like that, where they have an exit. It's like enough where it's like really cool. I can kind of like flex the account a little bit, but not enough where it's like you want more, if that makes sense. And so I was one of the founders out of that company that got acquired, where I'm like, I think I'm worth so much more than this. I think I could do this again. And I spent about 2 years working on a couple of really cool companies, understanding what it took to build a company past $1 million a year. Essentially, there's 2 years where like I just learned a lot, took a bunch of startups, tried to see what the game looked like beyond $1 million a year. And by the time I built my second company, it was an image generation software. And that company we built, scaled, and sold in 3 months. And I made more money, and I obviously did it in faster time horizon than my first company.
Tell me everything about that. Like, what was that company?
It was called Journey Plus. What we realized very early on was that Mid-Journey and these like AI image generation softwares were very limited in scope. And there wasn't a platform that allows you to cross-use them and cross-use different models to kind of compare. And so we built a product that was very viral on organic that allowed us to kind of create these viral AI images of you using existing models that were very difficult to use without using our platform.
Is it like a headshot app? Because we had somebody else on here did like a headshot app that also grew like insanely fast. Aragon, I think it was called. I don't know if you know Aragon AI.
Yeah, I do. Aragon's one of our investors. Yeah, they're really cool. So yeah, very similar to that premise, except we use like, for example, Midjourney, there's no open model for it. So like Aragon had to build their own internal model. We just used all the popular ones, combined all of them into a single setup, and then it kind of created a platform that allowed us to switch between a bunch of them.
And this was what year? Is this ChatGPT, sorry, so it must be like what, 23, 24?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. One thing I want to dial in with you, like, I mean, you're all about distribution, and it's just you clear in the choices you make and even everything you're talking about with Clover and stuff and what you're trying to solve. Like, that is fully in agreement if you can solve that for so many different products, especially long tail products, consumer products and SMB type products. You're done half the battle. Like, if you can get the attention, you'll get the sales because the conversion is going to be whatever the conversion is going to be. And a lot of the times you mix that with like a product that has known demand and you're done. Like, so let's walk through some of that. Like with this one, we'll do it a lot with Clover as well. But with this company that you flipped in 3 months, how do you solve distribution? Like, what are you doing to go viral with these images? Everybody can put a few things together and create some new AI image app. But what were you doing on the distribution side that set you apart?
Yeah, so I actually have grown my apps using very similar methods to what Clover can do automatically. And so it was a mix of either SEO hacking or like video and like organic TikTok, Instagram reel hacking. And so for the AI image generation software, what we did is that we had like UGCs or influencers promote, which I found actually was not as useful. What I found more useful was like having just a ton of automated posting going out towards a bunch of different accounts. And so the math here, Pablo, is that if you want to generate 1 million views, you can either do the math behind an influencer, see what their average posting is, and then pay them for 1 million views average. Or I realized you could engineer 1 million views because each video on Instagram or TikTok averages about 1,000 views. Everything, regular account. So the math is you do 1,000 videos on 1,000, if it has 1,000 views, and you will guarantee 1 million. And so what we did is we literally did thousands of videos a day that generated us millions of views. And what's really cool about this is that we then had our own internal system to determine, hey, like this one did not go past 1,000 views. It went like 10,000 views, right? Or another one hit maybe like 500,000 views. And so even though we engineered to make 1 million views, we were generating more than 1 million views a day.
I've never heard of somebody think about it that way. Like everything in virality is about how to make a given video more viral, how to make better content so it gets more views, not to just like, Mr. Beast is all about quality. You're like all about quantity. It's just like, who cares if it's that good? And you'll get lucky sometimes on top of it. That's like the cherry on top.
Exactly, yeah. And so then what's cool is that we end up finding out the outliers very quickly.
Okay, well, just before we go there, like just tactically, right? Because I want to get as deep as possible on this.
Sure.
Because this is a big unlock. How do you do that? Like, how do you do 1,000 videos a day? Is it on 1,000 accounts? Like just mechanically, what's going on?
Yeah, so the math behind it here is that per video or per account, you can do about 3 videos. 3 videos per day, I should say.
Gotcha.
And so anything above that, we notice there's diminishing returns. Anything below that, you're not doing enough. And so if you wanted to engineer, again, 1,000 videos, you just do 1,000 videos divided by 3. So about 333 accounts that need to be created, all posting whatever product or video you want to promote. The secondary problem is that each video needs to be inherently unique in metadata signals. And so if you post the same video twice on TikTok or Instagram, doesn't matter if it's a brand new account, a new account, or influencer account, they will flag that video as already being posted.
And they'll kill your views.
Which makes it useless, right? So you cannot have the same video and do that 1,000 times because like they're going to immediately flag it.
And first of all, you're creating 330 accounts. You're just doing that manually. Like you're just going in, open, new account, new name, new whatever. Boom, 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 boom.
Initially, what we did is I just paid people overseas to warm up new accounts, have VPNs in the US, and then post. Echoes does this automatically, which is the second product. We warm up new accounts using agents to automatically build, follow, and like a bunch of different accounts, and then post it. Because the other half of the battle is that like, let's say you open up a brand new account, you post it, that's also useless because it's not target audience posting. And so the ideal play, let's say you had a fitness app, is you want to create a new account, watch all the fitness YouTubers, follow all the fitness YouTubers, have your feed be curated by fitness related content. And then by the time you post something, it will go to that related content. But then the secondary problem is around VPNs and proxies, which is a whole separate issue about being able to make sure that even if it is fitness related, it's fitness related towards the country you're supposed to be in. And so with my original operation, we had like a bunch of people be able to do that at scale. And I realized that like you can then automate this with software. And so when I built Clover, I'm like, that is going to be the most immediate thing we're going to do. And then figure out the outliers of videos and things that are working at scale.
Okay, so back to this. So now you got 300 accounts, they're warmed up, you've got people overseas and VPNs and stuff. Okay, now you talked about the uniqueness, like each video needs to be unique. How are you doing that?
There's a couple components you can change in a video. So there's like coloring, for example, some of them were black and white. Some of them we flip the videos. So we double flip, so flip once, flip twice. The other thing is metadata on the descriptions can change, hashtags can change, and then obviously general location can change. And then a couple like micro things within the video can like change or adapt. For example, the first 3 seconds seem to be overly engineered, and then you can have clips. I mean, the same way you can have like clipping, like very popular videos pop off that are like I've shown all the time. But the thing is that those are allowed, but the pre and post of that clip needs to be different. And so the first 3 seconds has to be different. For example, if I'm sure you've seen videos where people are like, hey, let's check out this video. But it's like them saying, check this out. And then it shows a video, right? Or even it's a green screen, right? It's someone who's like hovering on top, talking about a video, and it's just a little head person in that little video frame.
Yeah, like the Twitch style thing. It's like half of them is their head and then half is a viral video below. And I'm like, dude, you're wasting space. But now I get why.
Yeah. So those are all considered unique videos to Instagram or TikTok. And so we had a lot of those like TikTok green screen type videos. And also a combination of just like small variations of the same video.
And you're doing that internally and just sending it to the people who then post it on your behalf?
Exactly, that's right. And so I create all the videos in the batch and then send it to people overseas. They will then auto post them across all the accounts. And then I just wait like a day, 2 days maximum. And then typically TikTok or Instagram picks it up over a 24 to 48 hour period. And from there, I can see what are the outliers. And let's say, for example, there's one video that performs super well. I'm like, cool, let's do more variation.
But just on that, so the outliers, like you're doing 300 versions, because some of the tweaks you're talking about are probably not going to make the difference. Like you're talking about, there's maybe 5 or 10 video sets and each one's multiplied by 30. Is that kind of how you did it? Or
yeah, exactly. That's right. And I wouldn't typically do variations. Like the first batch is the hardest one because we're doing almost a unique video every time. And then from that unique set, you then figure out which ones are the best. And then you do micro improvements on that. It's very similar to like Facebook ads, I would say. Except we've done that purely organically and like sense in comparison to what a typical CPM would cost on Facebook.
Like, is the leverage you're getting strictly on the cost per impression, or is it also on the conversion per impression? Like, is there anything about the fact that they're organic that makes them better views than a paid view, or that doesn't matter? Like 1 million views through paid versus 1 million views through this system, are they worth the same?
Yeah. So what I would say is typically, and I've done paid ads as well, organic has a high level of trust because when you go and see a paid ad, it says it's a paid ad. And so like there's an awareness factor there. If it's an organic video promoting a product, it's not a direct sponsorship. There's no necessarily needed to say it's a paid ad per se. It's just like a review or like, here's like something I've seen that occurred. Like if people share a website that they think is cool, it's not considered a paid ad.
We had Roy from Cluely on the show, right? He's obviously big and going viral. He's all about controversy. And if you look at his videos, I mean, these are highly produced videos that barely even talk about the product. And to the extent that they talk about the product, they don't talk about features or anything like that. It's just like this hyper, ultra realistic version of the product, of what it could be, visionary, whatever. And then, but his point is, who cares? Like you go viral. Some people will go to your website, then they'll figure it out. What are some examples of the videos that you were putting out?
Yeah, so Roy's approach is different because again, like our approach is like volume negates luck. And so with Roy, he has more controversy and he pays clippers, which I don't know if you're familiar with, that like essentially would pay to cross promote and do the same thing that we would do with VAs.
He does the UGC thing, which you kind of mentioned, but not wasn't huge for you. But he's huge on that. There's 500 people, 1,000 people just reposting, and they're whatever.
Yeah, totally. So there's 2 parts to it. There's the UGC factor, which is like a user generated content for those who don't know, where like a person would just talk about a product or like use a product in like a demo case. And then there is the typical clipping, which is different. So clipping is like Roy does a huge announcement about a new product on Cluely. There's like thousands of clippers he would pay to then repost it or change the way it looks or like do the same thing that I was kind of saying before, but like real people kind of making those video edits. So you pay for the clippers or you pay for the UGCs. In both cases, what we've realized and the way we kind of approach it differently is that we have like almost completely AI UGCs and also complete clipping. And so because of that, the CPM so pretty much cost per 1,000 views, is significantly cheaper than any comparison that would exist. Let's say $1 CPM. Out of the $1 CPM, maybe 0.5 of that is clipping. Another 0.5 is the actual video itself for posting. And so you end up paying a premium because you're paying a clipper. In our case, because it's fully software aspect, there's no clipping involved, even though we have the same output clipping.
This is Clover you're talking about. This is your current product.
Yes, that's right.
Right? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
With Clover, like there's no need to pay a clipper, which means the margin of that is still the same result, but like a lot cheaper. And so when people pay for us, they've switched from either general clipping to completely our end, which is why we've been able to generate a ton of revenue up front with a lot of contracts of how much they're paying per month, because people are paying on a per view basis, which means that like you can scale as far as you want on how much you're going to be paid and how much you are going to pay the platform.
So, but then back to the AI imagery company, what's the content? Like, give me an example of what one of these videos might be. The ones that, again, doesn't need to be like the most viral one because you're not really going for that. Like, I mean, it's great if you get it, but what sort of things are you posting about?
Yeah, one thing that went pretty popular is very similar to what Aragon did about like you just take a photo of yourself and then it converts into like a high school version of you in like a yearbook, for example. So very like personable aspect that people can understand, oh, wow, I can see myself doing that same thing and then kind of posting about it, right? So like there's like aspects like that, which are very important. The other big things that converted very well is just very, like, at the time, very beautiful images. There's a point where like these type of images did not exist, like to be able to create something so abstract or so real.
Yeah, like the unicorn in the clouds with the whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
Gotcha.
And so that factor was very novel at the time. Now, if I do that, it's not going to go viral or not going to have any significance. So a lot of it's like very nature and environmental dependent.
Walk me through, because that was like a 3-month. I mean, that was really quick. Like, walk me through that. Who do you end up selling that to, and why do you sell it?
Yeah, we sold to a New York-based firm. And for us, what we realized pretty early on is that I was more interested in these growth hacks, in my opinion, than the actual like mechanism of the actual company itself. And so I realized that like this type of growth channel and this type of mechanism is really, really cool. I want a company, again, that can solve distribution at scale, that can actually do all this for other companies. And that to me is way more exciting than any individual company I can build. And if I do decide to build another individual company like this one, I can easily just go ahead and use my same system to then be able to orchestrate it. And the infrastructure cost would be cheaper for me than any other person I'm charging.
How much did you end up selling it for?
We only sold it for about $800,000.
But were you solo founder or did you have co-founders for it?
I was pretty much solo. I owned about 86%.
Okay, so you did very well in 3 months. not a bad place to be. What's your next move after that?
My next move after that is actually, I started a company with Ryan, who's my current co-founder at Clover, for a company called Halation. And so there's this interesting model around holding companies that was super interesting to me. And so before I realized that, hey, I should own the distribution layer, the next big unlock for me was like, I should actually just build companies and scale them using very similar playbooks. I think for a while we were correct. And so we scaled Halation to $0 to $2 million a year within 10 months, fully bootstrapped, didn't take any outside capital.
Doing what? Were you buying companies and growing them?
Exactly. So it was a mix of buying, it was a mix of incubating. So we owned a couple companies. One company that was pretty big was called OnePrice. It was just a A/B testing platform for Stripe. It's currently still the #1 app on the Stripe App Store. So we get a lot of downloads from just being #1 and organically hacking that.
Did you buy it with cash or did you have some other kind of mechanism to acquire it?
That one we incubated. And then we also bought a design agency, which I actually still technically own. And actually is the same agency I use to brand all my current products. I realized very early on that branding is a massive component of like everything. And so like we approached that very early on. And so that was actually one of our first big purchases. And that did pretty well as well. The issue is just around like cross-sell ability and LTV. And so what we noticed is that like I would start a new company, I'd put like a founder into that company, and either incompetence of the founder or a mix of just problems where one company, I feel like I had 8 different brain cells across every single company I was incubating. And there's no ability to cross-sell customer, like a design agency to like A/B testing on Stripe. There's like very different businesses.
And did you find with a lot of these businesses, it was easy because you obviously have unlocked, and I assume you used all the growth hacks for every single one of these businesses. So that initial 0 to 1, which for a lot of founders is hard, for you was easy. But did you find there was kind of diminishing returns? Like, okay, it was really easy to get a business to something, whether it's $1 million a year or $5 million a year, or $3 million, depending on the business. Yeah. But then I can't just will it to $30 million a year. Like, was that something you were running into?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely caps. I think that's also a huge reason why we sold our the AI image generation software, like there's diminishing returns on consumers aspects. B2B is a massive different play that I wanted to go into. But I think honestly, it was just like, I was very overwhelmed running multiple companies that had no relation to each other, that I felt like I couldn't actually focus on. And there's clear winners, but others, it's like, I still own equity. Why am I like not focusing on this one? There was aspects like that I was not exciting to me. I had to kind of take a step back on how I wanted to approach a company of this magnitude.
What year was this? Where were we at, like timeline wise?
Yeah, this is up until, so essentially it's April of last year, so 2024 to January of this year, which is 2025.
Which is when you decide you don't want to do this buy and hold multiple properties anymore.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
What do you decide to do instead?
I think there's about a month-long break where I'm like, I need to take a little step back. I still own equity in the companies that we incubated, but I wanted to build a company where I knew I can like take on a bigger swing. And so for the first time ever, I actually decided to raise capital. All my previous companies were fully bootstrapped. We scaled them and we sold them. And so we decided to raise only $500,000 at a $10 million valuation. All I did is I sent a Notion page to a couple investors I respected. I'm like, I don't do pitch decks. I don't even want to pitch you. Here's my track record. Here's like the amount of money I've done in Stripe before.
Was it mainly angels or some like funds? $500,000, it's not a lot.
Yeah. And Neo.com was willing to invest $500,000, but they only gave $250,000 because I said I want only $500,000 total, which means I want to have the other $250,000 be angels. And so it was $250,000 from institutional, $250,000 from angels. And then we ended up taking like some like random angels here and there along the way.
So you have the $500,000. Did you have the clear idea when you sent that Notion doc?
I think the main Notion doc I had, which is pivoted slightly, but the main thesis was like, I still wanted to do the multi-company approach. I think that was the one that I definitely wanted to do. But I wanted to do it where the thesis of the company was optimized towards product, LTV, and cross-selling between customers. To that point, I am selling to the exact same customer domain each time.
So different products, same customer, which you felt would kind of let you focus your brain instead of having it separate across 10 different places.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the other big thing that was important to me is that with the old model, it was founder-centric. And so I would own 60, maybe 70% of a company. I would bring an operator and then have them kind of run it. There was issues at scale because I think I trusted myself greatly more than most people. And so I think there's like conflicts that exist in paradigms they're unclear that would not be able to work out. And so with this one, I'm like, I want to own 100%, or the Clover, the entity itself wants to own 100% of every new company we incubate. And so there was not a founder type model. It was just purely like, let's incubate a company, let's own 100% of it, and let's like cross-sell between products that we also own 100%.
Which means you just run it, or what, you hire a GM for each company?
We just hire leadership roles, but the leadership roles won't be 30% or 40%. They'd be like minimal. And the leadership roles won't be on a per company basis. It'd actually be on the top level basis, which again is very different on how we operated before.
Typically, the origin story is like, I'm a founder, I see this problem. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that's a problem. Here's a solution. You're like everything backwards. I mean, it's like, okay, I'm going to solve distribution. I'm going to incubate companies. Give me some money. I'll figure it out. It's almost like a SPAC of like startups. You know what I mean? How do you go from this idea that, okay, I want to have multiple companies. I like that. Distribution is going to be a big play, but I'm going to have the same customer. Like, how do you figure out what customer, what product?
Yeah, so we tried a couple different verticals. We initially started with e-commerce, and then we very quickly pivoted towards like distribution layer for two reasons. One is that what's cool about distribution and the way we approach the company building now is that like a ton of companies that are not even necessarily the same customer base, but massive TAM type companies is how we would attribute it. So for example, some of the biggest e-commerce companies currently use us as distribution and get a ton of views that are cheaper than Facebook ads using our platform. And some people that are massive SaaS companies or consumer apps also use us. And so when I realized that it wasn't like an actual customer segment is probably not the right way to put it. It was just like massive TAM companies that like, for example, local businesses would not work well for our products.
Sorry, but when you said you started e-commerce, you always had a distribution product. You're just saying you started with the e-commerce vertical in terms of the customer set?
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. But your product was already defined then in that Notion doc? Like, what was the first thing you were going to do?
Yeah, the first thing was actually just going to be like AI phone calling. That was very popular at the time. But like at the time, we realized there's actually too many restrictions on like phones and like cold calling that was very legally restricted. So it was not able to scale based off just that paradigm. So we didn't end up selling that many customers. And very quickly, we realized this new paradigm of LLM and SEO, which is not restricted. You can do like tons of blog posts or tons of Reddit attribution towards your product.
Is kind of the geo, like, is this where you're going with the product?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so kind of like, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, SEO, obviously search engine optimization, typically for like search engines, a lot of this stuff is now moving to like the ChatGPT kind of AI apps. Okay, so then you were talking about go-to-market. Maybe we can go back there. Like, so you started with e-commerce, you realize big TAM companies, that's really your ICP.
Yeah, because we started beta testing it with someone who's not e-commerce. They ended up crushing like crazy. They're a consumer app that was very popular. And we're like, wow, we can like use the same model. It does not have to be customer centric, which again was the initial thesis. Like just one customer, obsessed with this customer, move on. But I quickly realized that it's a multi-customer approach, and the main similarity is just massive TAM companies.
We have tens of thousands of people who have followed the show. Are you one of those people? You want to be a part of the group. You want to be a part of those tens of thousands of followers. So hit the follow button.
So tell me more about the product. Like, you started with this AI calling thing, didn't really work. At the beginning, what was the first version of this new LLM SEO product? What did you do?
The first version was simply just monitoring LLM, and it very quickly became like, we'll actually post on your behalf. And so we'll do blog posts, we'll do Reddit posts, we'll like essentially organically hack and guarantee the number one post on Google for X amount of keywords that you want, which is practically unheard of. I think so. We kind of operated very similar to like an SEO agency, but like it was just pure software. Margins are very, very good.
How do you do it? There's the high level stuff, like people like, okay, build, technical stuff on your website, build backlinks, and then write blog posts that have your right keywords. I mean, that's kind of the high level stuff.
Yeah.
How do you take it from there to like guaranteeing a number one position, especially in this world where there's way more content, there's like way more competition because
exactly, yeah,
the cost of writing a blog has gone down dramatically.
Yeah. And so like, the biggest unlock has just been like the understanding of Reddit as a growth system. Right now, if you search up any keyword that is, what is the best tool, or how do you do this, or anything like that, Reddit's currently the number one result. And so the question is that the blog post helped kind of build like traffic over time consistently. Reddit helped actually guarantee the top spot every time, because the way you would approach it is you just want to outcompete the top spot. And so you outcompete the top spot based off of upvotes and comments. And so if you're like, hey, you want it to rank for what is the top, podcast for PMF, we'll be able to guarantee it because we would know the top post is this amount, that's this amount of engagement, and we would outcompete that engagement.
Is it fully hacked? Like, how do you outcompete that engagement?
It's like fully hacked, yeah.
So you just go on the thread that's like best startup podcast, for startups, and you'll be like, the Product Fit Show is the best one from one account, and then 100 other accounts like the post.
Yeah. So it would be like, what is the best? The title would be like, what is the best podcast for founders, for example. And then the post itself would be, hey, I'm 22-year-old male, trying to get in the startup game. I've been looking to a couple podcasts like X, Y, and Z.
You would make the post? You wouldn't just jump on a thread? You're saying you would make a new post?
No, we'd make it as well. Yeah, that's right. And so in the X, Y, and Z, like for example, I would say, I'm starting to look into My First Million, this one. And so you need like two popular ones, right? That everyone already knows. And then you name the third one. And then the top comment would be, I've heard these other two. What's Pablo's podcast? And it's like, oh, cool, here's a link. And then underneath there's the link. So you have the attribution side of things already hacked. And then that would outcompete the top post or whatever the existing thread was on Reddit.
But you need to get like 100 accounts to just like that stuff for it to like when you're talking about outcompete, you need more activity on that than your second best startup podcast thread, right?
Yeah. So what we've noticed is that there's actually very little hacking that had to be done, because most of these posts, if you post in the right subreddits, already have a ton of engagement. And so like, if you ask a general question, there's going to be people that comment that are genuine people that are commenting, that are looking for options or give you suggestions. So that already gives it the boost. So you don't need to like over-engineer the hacking. I would say like the big thing you have to engineer is making sure that you yourself are mentioned as the top comment or as the general sentiment of the entire thread.
The part I'm not fully getting yet is, well, let's keep on this example, right? Like there's already existing threads on Reddit for the best startup podcast, and they have a lot more activity than this new thread that you just made. So if I'm on Google and I type best startup podcast, probably the one they're going to serve up is the other one because it's been there longer, it's got more activity, whatever. Is it not true?
No, it's not true. Like we've been able to outrank, as long as the post is like 7 days old, it simply outranks the top one based off engagement. So actually age has very little to do. So if you look at the posts that are currently live on Google, typically the oldest one I've seen is maybe 3 years.
So you outrank because you're new? Is that what you're saying? Like in this case, because this is the newest post and it's got some engagement, it'll just outrank another one with way more comments on it?
No, so you have to do more comments and more engagement than the previous one. But like if it's newer, newer outranks older. And so Google wants you to show like the newest sentiment. For example, if you ask like what is the sentiment of Donald Trump, it's not going to show you a 3-year-old Reddit post about it. It's going to show you the most recent sentiment, which is going to be like maybe 2-3 weeks old.
So a combination of a good Reddit post, some hacking, and some real engagement gets you to outbeat whatever the other one is. Also because these Reddit posts, for the most part, unless you're on something really, like if I think about start a podcast, it's not that competitive. I mean, on Reddit, like it's not like we're talking about like 100,000, comments or like 10,000 likes and stuff like that. So I guess the numbers are not that big.
Right, exactly.
Okay, got it. So back, we just went on a tangent, but I think it's important with these tactics. It's interesting, right? Like just as a tangent here. I mean, this is the point of this show, right? Is to just go really deep on this stuff so you can actually do it, actually implement it, actually copy it, and especially when we talk about go to market, like that is the hardest thing for anyone. So it's good to actually understand it. So that was your first product. So you guarantee customers that you're gonna kind of get them the best, the top ranked link for whatever SEO query that they want. How do you go to market with it? Are you still doing these 1,000 videos at scale? Like, how are you landing these customers?
So the B2B growth hacking game is very different than the B2C growth hacking game. In theory, sure, you could do 1 million videos towards a B2B product like this, but what we found more interesting was like just purely outbound. And so we would send a ton of emails every single month, or like we just do a ton of LinkedIn scraping, and it kind of messages the right people that we know would be a good fit. We have this thing also called Dream 100, which is like, what are the top 100 customers that we know would be a super great fit, and do everything you can to actually get in front of them. And so that was another huge strategy that allowed us to get some of our biggest customers right now.
So, I mean, let's go deep on both of those. I mean, like, let's start with the cold outbound, cold emailing. Were you doing anything different maybe before we dive into it? Are you just using like the, classic list, you send a bunch of emails, whatever?
If it's not obvious yet, I believe truly in volume negates luck. We send about 15,000 emails a day, not including weekends.
It's a lot. That's a lot of emails. How much do you care about the personalization of each email, the content of each email? Like, how much time do you really put into that?
Yeah. I mean, a large part of it is just like mostly generated like AI. And like the personalization doesn't matter as much. The big thing is like the value you have to give per email.
What does that look like? Like, what's a good cold email to you? What's the bar?
Yeah, a good cold email to you would be like, hey, I heard about your podcast from a friend. I noticed that when I went to this Reddit thread, you guys were not mentioned. I just mentioned you guys. And there's like 6 other threads that are relevant that you guys should be mentioned on. Here are some of them. And then the offer is like, would you want me to like post about them or mention you guys there? You would say, yeah, sure. And then underneath, you would then say, hey, like we actually have a product that does this automatically. Are you interested in kind of trying it out? And then that would be kind of the demo call. So it's variations of that, of like, this is a thing you're missing out on. Here's an opportunity that exists. And then immediately after, like, here's the solution we have built to be able to achieve that.
And you're doing this times 15,000. So everything is AI automated, like from the cold email, obviously, to like getting the email address, to drafting the cold email, to actually posting on that Reddit thread. Everything's just been done in the background.
Exactly. Everything. Yeah, that's right.
15,000 emails. What's conversion?
It's about 10%, which is above industry standard. 1,500
people every day say, yeah, sure. Or 1,500 people every day do what?
Yeah, so the funnel here is probably about 10% say yes to some degree. Out of that, after the secondary thread, which also matters a lot, out of that 10%, I would say only 10% of that 10% actually like move forward, and 10% of the 10% then do like a book the demo.
So 15,000, 1,500, like, yeah, sure, post, why not? Okay, you're like, cool, like we have a product that does this. Only 150 are like, oh, interesting, tell me more. And then maybe 15 are like, okay, let's book a demo. Is that right? More or less?
Yeah, more or less. So I would say, so right now we're averaging between 13 to about 18 demos average per day.
And what's the bar for these 15,000? Like you said, you want large TAM companies. Are you going only after large companies, or it's like just casting a wider net?
Yeah, it's very wide net focus. If you look at it, majority companies that use Facebook, for example, or like any platform like that, want everyone to know about them.
Right. They don't have to be a big company. They just have to have a large potential TAM.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Like at this point, there's truly infinite number of targets. Like you're not going to ever run out.
Yeah. Like the only people you wouldn't want to target is like, again, local businesses, because like 1 million views towards that is going to be not as useful. And they have a higher turn rate.
So the cold outbound, that was one way. And you mentioned a different way you were going to market. What was it?
No, that's the main method. We just do cold, but we just do more channels. And so we do like Twitter, like LinkedIn. Like, so we just do more channels on the cold.
Oh, I see. So it's just omni-channel cold outbound messaging. Is that what you now, or is that how you did it at the beginning? Like when you first kind of February, March?
So we still do it. We had not added another channel since that. The big difference from revenue has been purely from referrals. And so in the last month, 30% of all new customers have come from referrals, which I think speaks a good amount of volume on the product itself. And so Now we're adding about very consistently 30% on top of top line revenue from just people that are recommending it to their friends.
How do you drive referrals?
Purely because the ticket size is pretty big. It is just like, we will give you a free month if you refer a friend. And then they get a free month.
If that friend closes or just if they refer a friend?
If the friend closes, yeah.
Okay. What's the ACV? Like, what are you charging?
So for the first product, we charge $10K for 3 months, $15K for 6 months, and then $25K for 12 months.
Okay.
So about $3.3K to $2K-ish a month average.
What does churn look like? Or is it even, do you count it as churn? Somebody signs for 3 months and they don't renew, is that churn to you? Or is it just supposed to be a 3-month engagement?
That's churn to people like they don't renew after 3 months. Churn right now is about 6 to 7%.
A month?
No, per engagement. So like per month is a lot less because people are, again, we're 6 months old. And so like, you only see churn every 3 months.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe churn's not the right, maybe it's hard to understand churn right now.
The better we approach it is like cohort breakdown.
Okay.
And so, for example, our first cohort, we had about 20% churn. Because again, we tagged the wrong industries, like local. Essentially, when we first started a company, you want to tag every single industry possible. And some of them were not the best fits. For example, security companies or like very like enterprise companies didn't work. Very small companies like local businesses did not work. Again, we know that now because of data. And so the first cohort is the way I look at it. I had 20% churn. Since then, we have had less churn. So like the most recent batch, which is what I'm referring to, has 6 to 7% churn.
Yeah, you just haven't been around long enough to know really how these things are going to look.
Exactly.
But what is the expected usage? Like if I'm a business and you rank me number one on a bunch of different important threads, like is the job not done? I mean, what's the recurring nature of the engagement?
Yeah, the recurring nature is twofolded. One is that this is the first product. And so like the majority of people has like almost done with MRR because we sold them to the next product, which is the video one. And that one has like unlimited cap.
Okay.
And so with SEO, what we do is we do a lot of blog posts, a lot of like Reddit posts, a lot of Reddit comments. And so what we've noticed that there seems to be not a cap on the post itself because you can attack more search queries, right? You can do like, what is the best podcast in Canada? What is the best podcast in the US, right? So there's multiple like angles you can attack. So we haven't had churn from that. The biggest reasons we've had churn is either company shuts down, like, which again is outside of our control, and or wrong industry, and or like this feature was kind of buggy. And like, again, we had to solve the feature. But it actually has not been because of results, which actually I think is an interesting statistic.
I guess from the blog, because Reddit, like, I mean, yes, there's many keywords. Let's say, again, back to the startup, but like there aren't 10,000. Like there's just like, you're going to run out. But I guess with blogs, you can always, I mean, I'm doing new episodes. You can make a new blog post about every episode and maybe that drives traffic and it's incremental and whatever. When did you launch this video product and what is it?
Yeah, we launched it about 2 months ago. It's called Echoes. And so what we did is that one of the biggest demands we had, which is an obvious demand, is that like once you solve SEO, organic hacking, the next big thing is like video hacking. And so right now Echoes only works for Instagram and like half of TikTok is like a little bit buggy, but it's going to solve for TikTok very soon, where we then mass post and mass produce videos at scale, all promoting your product. And so there's like AI GCs, AI slideshows, AI posts in general that are just photo generated. And then we do that at a very low CPM. So average CPM, it varies depending on the industry, but average CPM is about $1 CPM, which is like obviously a lot cheaper than if you were to do the same 1,000 views on Facebook. So average Facebook CPM is about $8 in comparison.
$1,000 gets you 1 million views. Like that's kind of that's the way I think about it.
That's right. And we'll guarantee it as well, which is very different than majority of companies.
And this is where you've taken what you were doing before somewhat manually and just fully AI automated it in terms of these like guaranteeing these views through 300 accounts, 1,000 views per video sort of thing.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
How is that product going?
It's crushing. It's like, it's going to be outcompeting the first product in the next 30 days.
In 2 months, it went from 0 to
210K.
a month. So it's on like a $2.5 million run rate 2 months in.
Yes, that's right. Well, I mean, I try not to use run rate or like ARR, but like I try to do it on a per month basis. But yes.
Yeah, that's more legit. I like the hype, But just apples to apples. I think a lot of people think about ARR, so it helps understand like the scale of it. I'm sure you're cross-selling it, you're upgrading your current customers.
Yeah.
What about new customers? Is it just the same cold outbound email, or do you have a different approach for this product?
Yeah, this one we haven't done any like actual outbound or anything. This is like pure existing customers that want this new product.
Oh, so this 200K is just lift on, it's all from existing customers that upgraded.
It's all lift. Yeah. Which again has proven the thesis, our initial thesis correct, which is like, if you can have something where like, again, it solves distribution, you can then cross-sell between the same customer to multiple products.
Do you think you would use the video product to promote the video product, or does that not really make sense?
Yeah, I think we have not tested that. Again, we haven't done any growth for this product at all. It's just been purely like existing customers. So like we haven't tried anything. We haven't tried like, our cold outbound, like nothing.
And then the original product you launched in February, March. When did you launch the SEO piece?
End of April.
End of April. So that's the 6 months, and that's doing like, would you say $500,000 a month or so?
That's right.
So like 6 million annualized if you annualize it. Okay. So that's the kind of 8 million total. And to be clear, all this stuff that first product does for SEO and like Google search queries, it has the same effect in like ChatGPT and Claude.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's been the biggest new feature on the product, which is like we already knew we were outranking on Google. And we also knew there was some LLM things. We started to notice that between clients, but we couldn't track it directly. We couldn't say like, hey, this post has gone live. 2 days later, it's now number one on Google. But now there's a third step, which is like it's number one on Google. And now when people search up this search query, it is being indexed as this result. So your company is now being indexed. If you look at all the major competitors right now, so Profound or any of these AI GEO tools, they're not doing that. Everyone is just monitoring, which in my opinion is completely useless. Why would you want to monitor? Like, also, you don't know how to even change it. It's like, I don't know how you're selling customers. But for us, it's like the entire system. It is like, you want to be in this key term. I cannot guarantee you're going to be on this LLM platform or going to be on LLMs at all, but I'll guarantee number one in Google. And right now, LLMs are indexing Google. And so as a byproduct, we're then getting them on the LLM platform.
This is maybe a stupid question, but this whole monitoring space, like how can you, like Google's easy because incognito mode, like we'll all see the same results. You know what I mean? Like, so you'll be like, I'm number one. Whereas the LLM depends on who I am, how I'm asking, all this sort of stuff, like what it's going to show me in any given query. How do you automate that so you can tell me, hey, like as a startup podcast, you're getting outranked on ChatGPT? Is that something you're giving me as information? Or how do you do that?
So the way Profound and most of these companies do it is to do thousands of queries a day, all towards ChatGPT or like whatever LM platform they want. And then they're able to get results on like what people are saying as a general sentiment. And so obviously each query is going to be a little different in response, but typically indexing is very similar. So probably an 80th percentile on how indexing is being shown. And so if you're indexed, you're typically indexed across every single search query, across all users.
So it's one thing you're like, hey, you're now indexed. And then I assume in some amount of days or weeks, the search queries themselves will all start, like you'll be able to show that I'm actually coming up.
Exactly. That's right.
I mean, I must say, I'm like, dude, where do I sign? You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm your new customer. It's interesting, man. Like, you know, some of these things, you talk to founders, right? And a lot of it is, do people really care? Like, do people really care about the thing that you're selling? Like, yeah, your product looks great. It's really slick, this and that. But like, is it really a top of mind problem? And, you know, something like this, everybody wants more reach. Everybody wants more distribution. Everybody wants to rank on Google and rank in ChatGPT. And the only real question is like, can you actually do it? And do you have a way to then show to everybody that you can actually do it? I mean, I think that's the distribution piece that you have. But I would argue the distribution piece, what you're doing, cold emailing, as much as I'm sure you've optimized it, is not like radically new. At least doesn't seem like it's like, okay, it's just you're doing something that many people are doing.
It's just the offer is very good.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, exactly. The offering works and it's just really good.
Yeah, exactly.
How big do you think this can get? And related to that, like how sustainable do you think this is? Because one of the worries is it's just like the bar has dropped so much in terms of what it takes to create a new Reddit post, a new Reddit thread, a new blog post, that you have to assume some of this stuff at some point is like the black hat, you know what I mean? Like the keyword clouds that you used to do on websites, and then all of a sudden it's not the thing that matters. Like, how do you think about the sustainability of it all?
Yeah, I mean, the way we've approached it is price is only going to continue going up. And so our current customers like are paying what is arguably a lot of capital. It's not like a PLG motion. It's not like you sign up, use the product. Again, at that point, you end up saturating the growth hack. My end goal is I want to work on the newest growth hacks across the biggest companies, because the biggest companies are not going to focus on the biggest growth hacks. If a new Google SEO hack exists next week, we will be the first company to ever build it and the first company to distribute it across all the big companies.
How do you do that? How do you unlock constantly the latest hack? That seems like hard to systematically do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. A large part of it is just the infrastructure we have behind it. And so people say they have AI agents. Like we truly have like legit AI agents. We have people, I don't know if you've heard of BrowserBase, a very big company. They help you kind of essentially an agent to be able to determine what is on the browser itself. And so we have that built in-house, where if I'm like, hey, let's say this is a new hack. The new hack is to refresh Google 10 times and then like post a link, whatever the hack may be, right? we could then do that autonomously using our own infrastructure. And so that's how we're able to incubate these new growth hacks that exist. And so half the battle is knowing what the newest and latest things are. But once we know what the hacks are, we could then easily build infrastructure and products around it. And again, sell that product to our existing customer base.
People will always want reach, and they're always going to pay for reach. Like, that'll just never going to change, period. And so as long as you can guarantee more reach, doesn't matter how you do it, people will continue to pay. That's for sure. The question is, right now you're doing these AI videos at scale, right? Tomorrow they're like, oh, I know what's an AI video, what's not, and I'm just blocking it, like just to whatever, right? Okay, cool. Now the use of that is zero, but can you come up with the new thing? Like, now what door's now been opened because that one's been shut? And there's always a way to gamify it.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the bet, the long-term enduring. Like, Clover is going to be a serious company in 5 years, 10 years, if you're consistently finding the new edge and the new way to just be like one step ahead of the, the algorithms.
And the goal is like no one else will be able to do it at the same scale. Like, everyone's doing it, like build one product and like continue growing that one. And we're going to continue doing that as well. But the goal is like have products own a channel. So like the first product solved SEO. So if we do a new growth hack in SEO, it's going to be within that product set. It's going to be a new feature. The second product then solved the video. And so like we're doing a short form now. Maybe the new growth hack is going to be long form. We're not that far away from doing that as well, like true long form videos. And so like that's going to be the next obvious channel. And so those solve the two, what I call like Clover leaves. And again, the thought process is, how do you do 4 Clover leaves that solve the entire distribution layer? And then it doesn't matter what the hack is anymore. It matters what the channel is. And then, so the first 2 is to solve organic. The next 2 is to solve paid. So like Facebook ad agent or Google ad agent, PPC, that's fully autonomous. We're obviously not going to get there immediately because we're trying to focus on our existing organic products, but that's the next obvious step. And the goal after that is then attribution. I think most of these attribution softwares are not that good. And we have our own system that's able to determine organic views and know if they convert or not. It's the 5th product, which is the 5th secret leaf, is you want to do a product that does attribution at scale. So how do you know what's working? And you can then use any one of our Clover agents to then get traffic to your site and then bring that traffic and know if it converts to whatever degree possible using the 5th Clover leaf.
That's great, man. I think it's very, very different, frankly, the way that you're approaching it than what other people are doing. And I think the value prop, like you just being this distribution layer to a lot of companies, is massive value to the extent that you can keep. I think that's the challenge. A lot of AI companies that are growing really fast, like the sustainability thing is the question. Frankly, it's the only question. Like, if you're growing that fast, everything else is good. So the only thing you can worry about is sustainability. But it is true. You're like, if you got it so fast, is it going to leave that fast? And is it going to be a bunch of different competitors? But I think, it makes sense the way you're thinking about it, which is if you build this automation at scale and if you're somehow able to flex that muscle to just stay ahead of it, then that's the thing that kind of keeps you going for a long time.
Right.
Let's stop it there. And I'll ask like the last 3 questions we always end on. The first one is, I'm going to ask it differently. Like, the typical question is like, when's the first time you felt like you had true product market fit? But let me ask a different thing. Like, you have witnessed product market fit now across at least 3, if not 4 products, maybe more. When do you know you have true product market fit? Like, what is true product market fit to you?
I would argue the first 2 companies I built were actually not the definition of how I'd market true product market fit. What I have seen in the last 30 to 45 days is that true product market fit is like purely based off referrals. If people love your product to the degree they say they do, they'll refer other customers to that product. And if people can do that, to say that not only you love your product and the market thinks the product's a good idea, but also the customers themselves think it's a brilliant idea. And again, right now, 30% of our new top line revenue per month is coming from referrals. It's just people that are like, this is great, this works, I'm getting results. This is cheaper than Facebook ads. This is cheaper than any other mechanism that I've ever used to get a ton of customers. Let me give this to my best friend who also has an e-commerce business. Let me give this like another SaaS friend that I have.
What's the time to value on your product?
It depends which product. The first one's about 2 weeks. It takes about 14 days to index on Google and or SEOs. And the second product is almost immediate. If you want 1 million views tomorrow, we will guarantee 1 million views tomorrow.
Have you noticed the impact of that shorter time to value in terms of referrals or something else from customers?
What we have done, which is quite interesting, is that we have switched towards even like a trial model, which is like, we're so confident in being able to do what we do now. So typically, again, we sell 3, 6, and 12-month packages. If we're like, hey, we'll give you 2 weeks free, but you have to sign on for 12 months as a must. And so like, we'll give it to you free. We'll do all the infra. It's going to cost us an RN. It's going to be negative for a little bit, but you have to sign for 12 months.
But you can cancel in those 2 weeks if you don't like it?
Yeah, exactly. You cancel in those 2 weeks. If you don't get you the results you don't want, then you can just cancel.
Do you notice more referrals as a result of your shorter time to value?
I wouldn't say so. I think it's more the longer term. People think actually transparently in the beginning, it's too good to be true and it won't be sustainable. It's like, cool, I've done 1 million views here and there, whatever. But then when it's sustainable, it's like we're consistently doing it. And also you're consistently getting value. You're consistently getting downloads to your app, your products, your purchases to your e-commerce store. Then it's like, wow, okay, like I will actually refer someone else because I've seen consistent value. It's not like a one-off pony trick.
And do you get as much referrals from one product as the other?
Yes, we do. Yeah, I would say from both ends.
And then the second question that I just want to attend to there, the second question is, was there ever a time, actually in any of your companies, where you thought things just like wouldn't work and you might just like fail completely?
Yeah, I think it was in between me running way too many companies before starting this one. It was like I was running 8 different businesses, and like just way too much. Things were kind of going on. There was like no clear winner. And I did not see myself running a company for like this for 10 years. I can see Clover being the absolute end game. I think there's variations of us winning. I think the next game worth playing is obviously more leaves, like the 4 Clover leaves. And the next game after that is building whatever company I want and outcompeting any company that I want to.
Are you going to raise more for Clover?
We've had very big chats with some of the biggest VC firms, transparently, but we're open to it. I think it really kind of depends the goal we're trying to have. And I think if people understand the vision, and again, it's a very different model than how startups typically operate. If people can understand that, I think they've been pretty sold on what we're looking for.
Last question. What would be your number one piece of advice to an early stage founder that's trying to find product market fit?
What I would say, which is something that I think a lot about in terms of what I would tell a younger version of myself when building companies, and it is the times where things are super difficult, I'm like spending a ton of hours on a product I think no one's going to be able to see, is that over a long enough time horizon, everything actually works out. The co-founder breakups you think is going to be the end of the world. Give it a month, 2 months, you'll find someone new, you'll find someone better. The employees that leave and churn and join another competitor company, you'll find other people to replace them. And majority of founders, when dealing with product market fit, is that they either do not do enough volume or they do not do the right channel. And they're working on the worst opportunities that no one wants. And so it's a mix of either one of those two things. If you work long enough, over a long enough time horizon, all of that would be like negligible in how you want to approach life.
Love it. Matt, thanks so much for jumping on the show, man. It's been awesome.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Wow, what an episode. You're probably in awe. You're in absolute shock. You're like, that helped me so much. So guess what? Now it's your turn to help someone else. Share the episode in the WhatsApp group you have with founders. Share it on that Slack channel. Send it to your founder friends and help them out. Trust me, they will love you for it.